All right, everybody. Welcome to the Monday Night Swarm meeting. It's no longer the Monday Night Swarm call. It's actually a meeting now because we're meeting here on Zoom video every single week on Monday nights. And so I just want to welcome all of you guys to the meeting. Thank you for taking 45 minutes out of your week to stay plugged in and stay in tune with what we're doing around the network and what we're doing as a team. In case you don't know who I am, my name is Tommy Migrant, and it was 6 years ago that I was the first Swarm coach. We're now at around 2,900, I think, Swarm coaches. Part of that team is Team Aspire, and they just hit 1,000 people last week in their organization. And so we're going to have Tina and Joe Gonzales on, the founders of Aspire, tonight, and just share a little bit with us. So every week what we do is we get together, we talk about events, we talk about recognition. We give all the recognition. And Joe, you might have to unmute yourself again. Okay, you got it. And we give some recognition. This is where you want to be every Monday night. You want yourself here. You want your coaches here, because this is where you get all of the latest information on events, all the latest information from company announcements, and just figure out what the coaches who are actually doing something are doing. And so we always either cover a topic that pertains to the business, or we have special guests on. Tonight, our special guests are going to be Joe and Tina Gonzales. If you guys don't know who Joe and Tina are, you're in for an extreme treat, because they have quickly become one of the most powerful couples doing this in the Aspire network. And their team has just hit 1,000 coaches. Tina was an elite coach. Joe was a premier coach. They've done an amazing job leading and building their organization of rock stars. And so we're going to pick their brains a little bit tonight. Hopefully give you guys some tips and pointers and things like that. But before we do that, let's go ahead and just talk about events that are coming up. So I just traveled back from Nashville, Tennessee, where I attended the Franklin Covey 5 Steps to Productivity, or 5 Choices to Extreme Productivity. And I got to tell you that this is something that the company is now offering, which is time management training. So what they've discovered is that probably the biggest issue for coaches who want to do this but have full-time jobs and have families and have all these other roles that they play is the time management piece. And even for coaches that do this full-time, time management becomes an issue for us, because it's easy to either not do the business because you're at home all the time, or to overdo the business and not have anything else in your life. And so the company partnered with Franklin Covey. You guys know they're a world-renowned time management company, and they have a specific training for Beachbody coaches. It's a 2-day training. It's live. They have them all over the country. This weekend it was in Nashville. Next weekend it's going to be in Houston, Texas. But I got to tell you that I went through this training. I've done other things.
They can hear you.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I can hear the so. That's a good Tina, because
no multitasking.
No multitasking tonight. So, but I got to tell you that it's a $2,000 training, and the cost of it is $249. But it's more than just training. You actually sit down and you learn how to use Google Drive and Google Calendars on day 2. You take a really deep dive into what your priorities are and what those core activities look like that will move your life and move your business and move your life ahead to get more production out of less time, which is really what we want to do. And for me, I found it very valuable. I plan on taking people back to the Pittsburgh event, which is going to be, I believe, the last weekend in April. Would love to see Swarm coaches just if you want to see, if you're not in Ohio or Pennsylvania area or Michigan, I know they're going to be in Houston, Texas. There's multiple events coming up in the next 6 months for Franklin Covey. So if time management is an issue, which for most of us it is, I don't know that you'll get better in-depth time management training than this Franklin Covey training. And really for $249, if your productivity goes way up, it's going to be very valuable to you. So if we can get 10 Swarm coaches, 10 Swarm or Aspire coaches to attend that Pittsburgh event, I'll travel there with you and go through it again. For me, it was a painful necessity, because I'm kind of like fly by the seat of my pants kind of guy. But I would do that again if we get enough people to go. So with that said, also coming up, First Steps to Success with Danny Johnson in Baltimore, Maryland. So this is going to be her last event until after June. And so that's going to be the first weekend in May. It's in Baltimore, Maryland. I think we have several coaches that are going. If you're a first timer that wants to go and get in the room, I mean, last weekend some of the names that I see on this list, a lot of them have actually been through that First Steps training. Danny Johnson is a separate independent trainer, and she trains on life skills, business skills, people skills, and a lot of what we use in our business has actually stemmed out of her training, and we've transformed it into Beachbody language. But the people that have went to her live trainings tend to have a better grip on all of that stuff. So she's having a training the first weekend of May, Baltimore, Maryland. I know that we have some people in Virginia and on the East Coast. Would love to see some of you guys there. And the last event that we want to talk about, obviously we have the cruise coming up next week. So a lot, I don't know, we've got maybe 30, 40 coaches that are going to be attending that Beachbody cruise. We're going to go have a great time traveling to the Grand Caymans, traveling to Cozumel, Mexico. And that's going to be the last weekend of this month. And if you aren't in line yet for next year's Success Club trip, it's going to be to Cancun, Mexico. You want to get in line for that. It's already sold out, but you can reserve your spot. And as people fall off the list, they're going to be calling the backup list, which could be you. But the next company event after the cruise, there's going to be a Super Saturday after that. So I just want to outline what the company, so we have the cruise, then we have Super Saturday like a week after that, right? So all of you should be in line to go to your local Super Saturdays. I'm going to be in Chicago, Illinois for Super Saturdays. So if you're in Ohio, you're going to have to get with the Klaniks or Janelle Summers or whoever's hosting here in Ohio, or maybe you guys do your own, you know. And I know that the Gonzales and I would be happy to help you do that if you want. But I'm going to be gone. They're in Orlando. So Ohio and Michigan people are going to have to find, you know, their independent trainings. But then there is Summit. And listen, we are 3 months away from Summit. And I cannot stress enough the importance of not just getting there yourself, but bringing people with you. And so the leaders on our team, we're going to be starting a mobilization plan because we need to get people to Summit. I got to tell you that lives will change coming out of Summit. It's just a fact. I've had my own life-changing moments. All of the top leaders in the network have had those moments at Summit where things just click and make sense, and they get what they need, and they have that light bulb moment. And so you don't want to miss that. Plus, it's going to be a ton of fun. We're going to spend 4 days together in Las Vegas, Nevada, with pool parties and live workouts with the trainers and all kinds of other hoopla that's going on. It's going to be a great time. So if you want to get to Summit, don't hesitate anymore, okay? You've only got like 12 weeks until Summit comes around. And I'm personally and some of the leaders on this team are going to be reaching out. We're going to be putting a plan together to reach out to the team and just see who wants to get on board with going because we need to get people there. I mean, the discounted rooms are already sold out. So when I was talking 4 or 6 weeks ago about the fact that the rooms were going fast, I wasn't lying. The rooms that were at a discount are sold out. And so what I'm saying is that clock is ticking. Now's the time to make a choice. Now's the time to get enrolled. Go to CoachSummit2014.com and register for Summit. And then let us know that you're going because we're going to have a Team Swarm Aspire event along with Mike Ryan and Jimmy Nelson's team. And it's going to be more training this year. If you were there the last couple of years, we did more awards and stuff like that. This time there's actually going to be training from some of the top people in the entire network. Some of them are going to come from our team, some of them from Mike Ryan's team, some of them from Jimmy Nelson's team. We're going to have Carl Deichler there, Tony Horton there, Sean T will be there, and they'll be spending 15, 20 minutes with us in that event as well. So that's going to be the Thursday before Summit from 9 a.m. I think till 1 or 2 p.m. I'm not quite sure what the end time is, but I think it's 9 to 2. That's what I would book for that. So if you're going to meet with your team separate of that, you're going to want to plan around that. So let's get into recognition because, listen, we had the #1 volume week ever in company history, in network history. It was the top volume week and top enrollment week ever for the entire company, which says a lot about all of you guys and the work that you did with the 21-day fix and with Team Cup. And so we have plenty of names to read when it comes to volume. But I do want to talk about the Team Cup because we had a lot of teams that did really awesome. I know that Tina Gonzalez' team did great. Liz Bellini's team had like 104 points. Tina Belangia was on a team that had like 97 points, and Deanna Lugowitz's team was in the top 200 out of 2,800 teams. But there were 3 teams that have an association with our organization that finished really, really high in the standings. Jatana Jackson's team, the Epic Mamas, finished 13th out of 2,800 teams, which is no joke. Great work on your guys' part. And in order to finish that high, you really have to get all 5 people on board with a focus goal in mind. And so her team finished 13th. And then Angela Zapian's Fearless Strawberry team finished 11th out of 2,800 teams, which is absolutely awesome. And I can't say enough about the work that she's been doing with her team. I know Angela's going through ramp right now with us, and she's just doing some really great things. Angela, we're super proud of you and your team and the coaches that you had on that team. And then Danielle Barrera's team, I believe, finished 10th. So they actually made the top 10 of the entire network for this Team Cup out of 2,800 teams, which is awesome. That's not an easy thing to do, guys. I got to tell you, I've had teams of my own finish in the top 10. I've personally finished in the top 10 on several things, but it's not an easy thing to do, and it really takes some great leadership on their part and some great teamwork on their part to pull together all 5 people on the team and go for it. And so they did really great, and we want to just celebrate them for their achievements. Let's talk about the top team builders for the week. So these are coaches that enrolled 2 or more coaches for the week. And how I do this is I just click on the new coaches in my office, and I can see everybody in our organization and who they enrolled. So it's a little bit hard because sometimes names are split up and I'm trying to go down. So I try to catch everybody I could with 2 or more. With 2 or more, Rick Fulton, who's a brand new coach, on his first day in the first 24 hours, sponsors his first 2 coaches and gets to Emerald in a day, right? On his second day, makes Success Club, right? In 48 hours, he's in Success Club. Now, that's what I call ass kicking right there. This guy, he's been doing P90X for 5 years, and he's put off coaching. He didn't want to do coaching, and his coach, Frank McGuire, brought him in this week, and within 2 days, the guy's Emerald and in Success Club. Clint Osborne with 2 coaches, and that is Tina Osborne's husband. So I don't know if Clint got them or Tina got them, but either way, Clint Osborne is on the list. Brian McBride is with 2 or more. Bianca Perez, who was at First Steps to Success last week. And I got to tell you, she's a great testimonial for the power of events. She got to Super Saturday down in Miami. She got to meet Lindsay Matway and the Gonzaleses and Barbie Decker and some of these people from around the network, and that really opened her eyes up to the opportunity. And then she got the First Steps, and she got to spend time with me and some other coaches and make some friendships. And here she is. Now she's enrolling coaches. So she's at 2. Louis Vidic is at 2. Amber Selby, Nikki Rusco, Michelle Catalano, and Kevin McGuire, all with 2 or more coaches for the month. Already in Success Club for the month of March, which this is the 10th of the month. So these people are already in Success Club by the 10th of the month. We have Sherry MacArthur, Sarah Stevens, Stacy Hanna, Lori Bolden, Tina Osborne, Courtney Vandemark, Nicole Kobe, Brandy Backus, Tina Gonzalez, and Lynette Shuley, who is at 9 points. And you know what's really awesome? I'm seeing Tina Osborne's group really kind of taking root and getting people on board with moving, which is awesome. Those people were in Success Club between 5 and 9, and in Success Club 10 already. Lindsay McGuire, Kathy Kandira, Sarah Mahilo, who last month had 89 points. She didn't even slow down. And it wasn't like she fired, like she had 89 points last month, and she's already like 11 for this month. And then the man that's on the call tonight with his wife, Joe Gonzales, is actually leading the entire organization with 12 points. And he's a bald, beautiful man that is doing great things. 12 points for him, which is super.
Might be wrong, Tommy.
Well, hey, I don't lie. At least I speak truth. Bald and beautiful is the way to go, which is great. Let's look at the top. Now, this list is going to be it's long because we had the top volume month in our organizational history, which just blows me away because we had 10 people with 1,000 or more volume for the week. And usually if you get over 1,000, you could lead the whole organization. We actually had one that was over 2,200 volume for the week, and so which is really awesome. So I'm going to get through these names. So how we read this is I check my volume list, right? I check my left leg and right leg volumes, and I look for people 500 or more volume for the week. And like my number might look different than the one you see for yourself in your online office because there's a difference between team volume and personal volume. Okay, team volume is what I see. So like if you sell a challenge pack, it might count for 105 volume points for you, but I only see 45. So there might be a difference between the numbers that I read and what you see in your office. But the top volume exploders for the team in the Swarm 500, Brandy Backus, Greg Bird, Julie Cottrell, Melissa Mohar, Cheryl MacArthur, Brent Bauer, Carmela Grace, and I believe that's how you say her name. I used to say it wrong. Is it Grace, Gracie, Grachi? I don't know. She's in the Swarm 500. Beth Lowe, Sharon Ionero, Ashley Cerisi, and Kathy Sioma. In the Swarm 600, Jason Delancey, Misty Rockmore, who's going through ramps. She just went through basics. Now she's in ramps, and she was at First Steps last week in Orlando. She's in the Swarm 600. Bianca Perez in the Swarm 600 again. Jennifer Rodenberg, Dan Smith, who just went through basics. He's in the 600. Vince Leveille, Kathy Kandera, Michelle Stratton, Stephanie Douglas, Lisa Peterlin, and Timothy Heath, all in the Swarm 600. Awesome. In the Swarm 700, Lori Bolden, Marissa Cunningham, Natalie Plesia, Renee Katzbach, and Holly Damon. In the Swarm 800, we have Nicole Kobe. I was personally at 855. Luke Siegelschafer, awesome week for Luke at 860. Sue Olson at 880. And then Christine Grier was in there as well. In the Swarm 900, Jen Marshalik was at 900, which is awesome to see her exploding. And then Lindsay Cheatham was at 940 for the week, so awesome for Lindsay. And here's the list of the 1,000 plus. And both of the people that are guest speaking tonight are on this list for the 1,000 plus. Joe Gonzales was at 1,005, so he crosses the 1,000 mark. Danielle Barrera was at 1132. Stacy Hanna at 1,280. Lisa Burdick at 1,385. Andrea Muse at 1,475. Liz Bellini at 1,545, so she's over 1,500. Sarah Mahilo over 1,635. She's at 1,635. Tina Gonzalez is at 1,665. Tina Osborne is at 1,775, and Angela Zapian was at 2,280. And so that I can't even begin to tell you the numbers on the volume side from this week really were a result of all the work people did on the launch of the 21-day fix. So a lot of those people with 1,000 or more enrolled a ton of challengers on the challenge packs when the 21-day fix came out, and then the reshipments of Shakeology happened. And so and that's where we're at. So Joe, you might have to unmute yourself one more time here. As people call in, I have to go ahead and remute. So can you guys unmute yourself before I introduce you? And I got to find you again.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. All right. I got you guys back. We're good. We're good. So hopefully we don't have any more interruptions. So listen, now is the time. I mean, it's awesome that we have so many people out there that are serving the mission to help others achieve their goals and live a healthy, fulfilling life. And that is our mission. And the numbers that we see are a result of everybody taking that activity and going out and helping others and sharing the message of becoming a challenger and focusing on the fitness, or becoming a coach and paying it forward and becoming a coach. And you know, I wanted to bring on tonight because it's not every day that we get a group within our group that reaches 1,000 coaches. And I remember several years ago, about 4 years ago, I remember a guy named Craig Holliday who was a mentor in our network. And he said, you know, you don't just wake up one day and all of a sudden you're at 1,000 coaches. It takes some work and it takes some incredible leadership in order to reach that level. And I know that Tina and Joe Gonzalez understand that now, because they just hit 1,000 and they know the kind of work it took, and they know the kind of vision that it took, and they know where they started and where they're at now and where they're going. And, you know, if you haven't had the chance, you know, not everybody's had the chance to hear Tina and Joe. I got to tell you that, you know, I've been at this for 6 years, right? I've worked with a lot of coaches, and I'm proud of so many coaches that have done some incredible work. But Tina and Joe really have just taken complete ownership of their organization. And it just reminds me of really what we had done when we started Swarm, was taking ownership of our organization and focusing on building from us down. And they have done that with a vision of their own. And in doing so, you know, Tina was an elite coach. So she's one of, I think, like 150 coaches in the network out of 150,000 that is a 5-star or more. Joe Gonzalez was a premier coach last year. And you know, he was like, I think 1 diamond, he was 4-star. And had he been 5-star, he would have been elite. And they would have been the only elite couple that were both elite. And so, but I know that they both kind of have a role within their organization, and they've done some incredible things, and they've really started duplicating leadership. I really think that what I see in them a lot is they duplicate a lot of what has been taught to them and what they've learned, not only from me, but from other leaders in the network, whether that is skills and techniques and the philosophy, or whether that is just learning how to hold people accountable, how to run basics groups and ramp groups and things like that. And so I invited them to come on and take some time away from their organization to come and just share with the rest of the team sort of their journey. Because I think that it's important for us to document sort of what that looks like, because I think that a lot of people have a big vision, but they don't even know where to start, and they don't know where to go, and they don't know what that takes in order to do that. So Tina and Joe, I just want to first of all welcome you and thank you for coming and spending 30 or 40 minutes with all of us in Swarm. You guys, I remember, when was it that you guys enrolled as a coach? 2.5 years ago, maybe? Almost 3?
I officially enrolled in May of 2011, and we came and met you for the first time at the Super Saturday in June of 2011.
Yeah. So we're just under 3 years, right? And
yep.
Which is crazy, because in my mind, I always think like it's 2 to 3 years. Like the best of the best, it's going to take them 3 years to get to the point where they have 1,000. And we talked about, that jump from 5 to 25 to 125 to 625 and that growth, right? And that, there's times when you do that. So let's just go back when you guys first started, and maybe not knowing what you were getting into, but just knowing that it was something you wanted to do. I know that Tina kind of at that Super Saturday event 3 years ago, it's hard to believe it's been 3 years, which is crazy to me. But Joe had brought Tina. Why don't you just share that story? We could start with Joe and how he brought Tina to that event and sort of what happened.
Yeah, so I'm much like any other coach, or challenger, I should say, that I just needed a personal change. I had grown tired of my corporate job and everything, but that's kind of secondary, because what happened was I had gained 20 pounds during my stress period and was really tired of that. And Tina was a yoga teacher, and when she moved out into a yoga studio, I converted our basement, and I said, I'm going to now make that a P90X studio. And I didn't know anything about Beachbody at all. At that time, I just started working out on my own. Actually got a copy off of Carmela's son, who ended up selling it to me. So I'm one of those, maybe I guess it's illegal, P90X people. But, I just started doing the workouts, and one day I posted on Facebook, boy, if you can make it through, I was about 6 weeks into it, I said, if you can make it through P90X without modifying it, I do not want to fight you. And with that, my niece just reached out to me and said, Uncle Joe, if you're doing that, you might be interested in this. And she just asked me if I wanted to help her out. She, unbeknownst to me, she was going to your fit club. Right. And she lived in your hometown, so I didn't know you at all before. Mm-hmm. And she just asked me if I'd be interested in helping her out, because if I bought Insanity from her or something, now she would make $30. And I, of course, wanted to help my niece out. True story. What's that?
True story.
True story. And I, of course, would have done anything to help my niece out at that point. And I thought about Insanity, and then she sent me the link, and at that point, really didn't give me any sort of a pitch other than that. But I kind of looked at it and saw this Shakeology thing, and I knew that it must have been good stuff after I did a little bit of research on it, and said, wow, well, I could use that, and I could get a discount, it looks like, and I'd be helping my niece out. Why not do this? So I ended up ordering we didn't have challenge packs at that time. And I just ordered it, and then when my coach package came in my email, I discovered there was a whole business opportunity associated with it. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even have my Shakeology in the mail yet or anything. I just read a little bit about it and said, wow, I can create a business by staying motivated to be fit, eating right. I knew my wife was already doing those things. And I thought, wow, why wouldn't I do this? So I yelled upstairs from my office, and I told Tina, I said, I'm signing you up for this Shakeology stuff, and you're going to be my first coach so I can get free customers.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's how we started.
Well, and you know what's incredible, and I just want to kind of point out some little nuggets, because I don't know that everybody catches these things along the way. So many coaches get, kind of pissed off when someone has a burnt set of discs, or they get them from Amazon and all of those things. But here we're talking about Joe Gonzales, right? Who, that's how he started, was with an illegal copy of disc, and had his coaches, or the people in our organization been like, well, screw you, you don't even, I didn't make the $30. We wouldn't be to the point where they've changed so many lives, right? And so, that's just a message in itself. I mean, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, those people, you know what I'm saying? Like, here's Joe, starts with a burnt set of DVDs, and that started him down his journey with Beachbody, like step by step, a progression. I think also what Joe just shared really talks about the power of events, right? I often think, like, I go back and I have chills right now on my arms because I'm thinking about this. Like, what if we hadn't been doing that fit club in our hometown, right? What if we hadn't been hosting a Super Saturday locally that he could bring his wife to? What if he didn't trust the people that told him to sign his spouse up to get to Emerald, right? Because he did that. He made Tina be, he said, you're going to be my first coach. And then from that point, he talked Tina into coming to Super Saturday, right? So Tina, why don't you share a little bit about that?
I was absolutely not remotely interested in showing up to that event. I was working on my other business, and he literally just made such a big fuss about it, I had to shut him up. So I went. And that day was my official start date. So there was the enroll date when he started me, and when I started, after hearing your story, Liz Bellini's, June Warner's, Greg Bird's, just so many amazing stories that spoke to my soul. And I left that event and I said to Joe, I don't just want to do this, I have to do this business. So it was his vision and leadership that got me there, and then the drive and motivation that took it from there.
Yeah. Well, and we often talk, we talk about inviting being a core thing, right? Inviting is a core thing. And when I think about this, it's like, inviting isn't just to challenge groups, and inviting isn't just to, to become a coach. I mean, it doesn't stop there. It's like, let's invite each other to an event, which is why I'm saying, like with Summit, like it's important that we are reaching out and just encouraging people to go with us, even if they just want to go as a friend, to just go have fun. Let the event speak to them. And the power of events, guys, is so incredible, because at those events is where the testimonials occur, right? When we always talk about facts tell and stories sell, and the fact that testimonials are what can inspire people to take action. So here's Tina at this Super Saturday event. It was a small event. It was like 40 or 50 people maybe, right?
It was powerful though.
But in a small room with 40 or 50 people, and I got to tell you guys, there's so many of you that are like, well, there's no events around me. Well, listen, create them. Do you think there was events around us when we started 6 years ago? There was nothing. There was nothing. It was me in Bellevue, Ohio. That was it. Right? Does that make sense? So stop whining about it and host your own fit club, host your own Super Saturday, put it together, and start with 5 people, start with 3 people in a room. It doesn't matter, because you never know what it's going to lead you to. And so I know that you guys, once Tina sort of made that choice, I know that you guys grabbed the vision of building a business and building an income from a business and really helping people. You saw that this was a vehicle. Tina, what were you doing? You were doing before, like resume?
Yeah, I did resume writing and interview coaching with executives. Loved it. I was helping people move from point A to point B, and I was a part-time yoga teacher. And it was a natural fit for me to migrate that audience into this. Mm-hmm. So for me, when I plugged in, I knew I wanted to help people feel better and feel included. And equal to that, not secondary, was I wanted to build a business of significance, meaning income. Because I know that the income generated in this business is a direct reflection of the number of clients I've served, the number of business partners who we have helped achieve their goals, our own family living our dream, and on the other side, being able to give to our cause of choice, which is Girls with Soul, and that's very meaningful to us. So yeah, we wanted to help people and build a business of significance.
Yeah.
I remember you kind of freaked out about me wanting to know how long it's going to take me to get to 6 figures.
Well, you actually said to me on my back porch, you were like 3 months into being a coach, and you're like, and I said, well, what do you like, what kind of income level do you want to hit? Like in a year from now, where would you like to be? And you're like, I don't know, 200 grand. And I froze because I'm like, it's really friggin' hard to imagine, that in 12 months, but I know that over the course of the last 2.5 years, I mean, it might've taken you guys a little bit longer to start getting to see that. And I think that's one thing people don't understand is the team building doesn't always bring that immediate income. It's like, I'm going to work my ass off now for the income later, right? Does that make sense? And you guys maybe just share a little bit about that, Joe, as far as your experience with that and sort of that journey with the team building side of things. Because I know that, we told them, I just know that it's hard for people want to go out there and get challengers, which is great, right? We want to help with that. But if they want to earn their residual income on the team building side, you've got to do that consistently over time, right? So share a little bit maybe about that and how, the kind of work it took to get to where you're at now. Sure.
Well, it's kind of like how I fooled Tina into working out with weights at first. She was only doing some kickboxing or something, running, and at one point she wanted to be a figure competitor, or thought she wants to build some muscles, and I told her it would only take her about 3 weeks to start seeing muscles.
I'm still waiting.
But once she got 3 weeks into it, I knew she would be hooked. So I just said, well, now what are you going to do? You might as well keep going. But that's kind of like this business. When I saw the structure of the compensation plan, and I can kind of, as you mentioned, you got to have vision. A long time ago when I was in my 20s, I had understood the Amway model and knew what that could do mathematically, but I just wasn't into soap and laundry when I was a guy in my 20s. So when I saw this, I immediately knew I was going to have to take Tina and sign her up right away, and then I was going to have to take my family members and sign them up right away, because I had just written my personal goals that I wanted to create something that people remember me by, and I wanted to be my own boss. And I knew that as soon as I signed up my family members, I was giving them a chance to share in everything. And I also knew that once I started getting people involved in the business, that I had to show my commitment to them. Mm-hmm. And I was going to be deeply committed, because there is no way I wasn't going to do my part to help them achieve their goals. And so I was committed right from the start, and I wanted to kind of share with them the possibilities, because I understand that not everybody really can understand our team cycle bonus and the whole compensation plan, but I just wanted to show by example and commitment that what to do every day. And we had a big vision right from the start, as you know, and I'm very passionate about creating these opportunities, and I've created 6-figure income businesses before. I knew that, in order to get involved with this, it only made sense for me to have a big vision, and I wanted to help Tina, and I saw how much she was getting involved with it, and then it just started to just become very addicting and much more powerful to me to help others see what they could do, as opposed to just doing something on my own. And it started off as just a few people, and we had met you, and you taught us the basic skills of form pretty much in one weekend. We then, it took about 4 or 5 months before we got into the legacy training that you were doing formally. In that period of time was probably the key period of time that it was kind of make or break, because it took me 5 months to have a $100 week, but I knew that I wasn't doing this for my money. I could have just been doing my other thing. I was doing it because I had promised others that this was going to work. And I just kept going and kept going. And what had happened is when we plugged into formal training with you and the challenge packs, and then I humbled myself to learn a new skill. I didn't know anything about network marketing. I was a banker in real estate, commercial real estate, but I knew nothing about how to build a network marketing business or to be a Beachbody coach. So when Tina started to take off and I was still struggling, we were plugging into your training, and then all of a sudden we both just became parrots of everything you said. And use all those basic skills of FORM, form, in listening to people as opposed to talking to people or trying to sell. And then we plugged into Danny Johnson and went to the event and learned more about ourselves. That's when we learned how to complement each other as opposed to oppose each other, because it was for 5 months Tina and I were like fire and water in our house.
Well, and I think, I think that's something that's important to talk about, because I know that, and this is common around the network and with coaches that I talk to, especially women. Our network is 80% women, right? And a lot of them have husbands that aren't into Beachbody, and they start actually pulling apart from their spouse because they're spending more time on Beachbody than they are with their spouse, and it's not an easy thing to navigate, right? And so going through something like Danny Johnson's, First Steps and then Dynasty, you guys went through both of those. I had chills when you said that, because for me, I believe that there's no greater place for people to kind of dig out their crap and just what I'm saying, that in that environment, at a First Steps or in that environment at a Dynasty, as far as leadership training goes and all of those things. So you guys invested in yourself, right?
Yeah.
So talk about the importance of that. I mean, if you look back at your journey, the investment that you've made into yourself with personal development and what that's done for you. Maybe Tina, I know I've seen some incredible growth with Tina, especially on a leadership level, and all of those things. So Tina, why don't you talk a little bit about that, like that investment and what that do for you?
I honestly think that personal development is a 3 vital behavior, because it's vital to the growth of your business. I kind of surprise myself, like things that will come out of my mouth on a routine basis, like, wow, where did that come from? And it really came from being the parrot that Joe said, listening to you on weekly phone calls, taking notes, plugging into training, and information just dripping day in and day out. And so I'm really kind of unrecognizable in terms of my leadership that I was 3 years ago. And it's exciting to see, and also exciting to be able to share with others on our team that they can do this too. Because I grew up in poverty, abuse, I had no college education. I just love to help people. And I've connected with a business that is so simple. It's literally a copy and paste system that allows me to help people and allows me to help other people help people. So it's exciting for me to pass on.
So talk about that a little bit. I mean, first of all, one thing I want to say before I have you talk about this, Tina, a lot of people are like, I don't know what to say, right? And how I learned, right, because I was just like you guys, I didn't come into this knowing this. I'm a high school friggin' football coach, right, with a foul mouth. That's and so, what I did was I got Danny Johnson's Prospecting and Closing Your Way to Millions audio CDs, and I just listened to them over and over and over again. And I think that, you become what you surround yourself with. You become what you listen to, and you can't help but to take that in. Just like when you listen to a song, right? How many of you have listened to a song before, and the first time you hear it, you don't know the lyrics, you don't know the beat, but you're like, that's catchy. And then you hear it 10 times or 15 times, or it's like Blurred Lines, and you hear it every day, 6 times a day for 3 months, and all of a sudden you're singing it as soon as it comes on. And 20 years later, the song comes on, and you still can sing it, right? You guys understand that? And so what Tina's really referring to is that muscle memory that we have in our brain, but you have to be open to it. they were open to it. And they you know, like Joe said, I got humble and I started learning a new skill like network marketing, and I started learning what it took to build a team. If your goal, listen, we are building a network marketing business, right? At the end of the day, yes, we're with Beachbody, right? And we are blessed to be with a company that does what Beachbody does and has the products that we have. But the structure of it and the things that work in the field when it comes to working with people, okay, it's more about how you work with people and how you motivate them, how you hold them accountable, how you light fires under them, all of those things, right? That matter. And so they've invested, you know, Tina and Joe, I know, and their team, and they get their team to invest in themselves. You know, that's the one thing that I always noticed about Tina and Joe. Like at every Super Saturday, man, they had butts in the seats. They had people with them. They're never going anywhere alone, right? And then there's other coaches who show up with the same 3 people every time, right? And it never mobilizes. And so learning how to mobilize people. I mean, Tina, I know that you're big on that. You use that word a lot. It's time to mobilize, right? So talk about that a little bit,
Right.
mobilizing people. Because I think
I did a little exercise on Facebook a couple of years ago after my first year in business, and I asked my friends to describe me in 3 words or less, and the word inspiring and motivating came up, I know, the most. And I thought, that's totally cool. I like that. But I'm looking to take it to a next level. And what was really important to me was to help move people to a new place. So I actually used mobilizer as my new title, my theme word for the year. And it took a huge amount of personal development commitment from me to be able to do that. And Tommy, you pointed me first to John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, along with the Danny training. And that was the beginning of a big shift of me figuring out how to equip people with the tools they need, hold them accountable, and equip them to move their business. And we started creating trainings together and owning that. That was scary. I was like, what do I have to tell people? But I was surprised. And we were able to partner and feed off of one another with our strengths. So he's our systems guy and gets all the structure in place, and then I can be cheerleader, mobilizer, daily cheerleader. I think that's kind of it. That second year was when the magic started happening for me in terms of duplication. I became a better leader, and the results got better. I had to own that I sucked.
Well, that's the first step, right? The first step is, oh crap, I got a gap in my leadership abilities.
It was a huge gap.
Some leadership skills, right? And so you know, you went through the John Maxwell stuff and through the Danny Johnson trainings, and that helped you become, and you started surrounding yourself with people who were better leaders, you know, and doing that stuff. One thing I want to point out to everybody that's on this call is what she said. It wasn't until the second year that she started seeing some of the result come in, right, from the team building and from that personal growth and all of those things. I mean, one of the challenges of this is this: we live in an instant gratification society, right? We want it now, and we're used to working dollars for hours, right? You go to work for 40 hours a week, and you're going to make X amount of dollars an hour, or you're on a salary, and every week your paycheck is the same. The difference in this business is this is more where you know, you can go work your 40 hours or 10 hours or however much time you're putting into this, right? And you might not see the payoff till the second year. And Joe and Tina didn't really start seeing that until their second year. And now they're in their third year, and they're really starting to see that. I want you to write this down. It's like water against the rock, okay? Water against the rock. That over time, if, you know, when you think about the Grand Canyon and how that sucker was carved out, that water just started as a trickle stream on top of land, and slowly and so. But if you went and looked at it a month from now, it wouldn't have made much progress. But over the course of 1,000 friggin' years, that sucker cut down, and now you have this great, beautiful thing called the Grand Canyon. Well, this business is a lot like that, okay? Especially on the team building side. You're going to see the immediate result when you enroll challenge packs, because you're going to get that money up front, right? But you're not going to see the team building side and the leadership side start to pay off until you've grown into the type of person that understands how to lead people and mobilize people. So leadership is a big personal development thing that we all need to do. But then also when you do that consistently over time, Tina said it. It was my second year in the business. It does not happen like this. This is not a get rich quick scheme. And so too many people come in and maybe spend 6 months going at it, and all of a sudden, because they haven't seen it, they pull away, and any rise they saw quickly goes down, and they just do this up and down and up and down and up and down. Joe and Tina started here, right? And they built and they built and they built and they built, and then all of a sudden year 2 they started seeing this, right? And it was kind of like this, and then year 3 it's doing this, right? And it's going up. And it's because they've consistently recruited, they've consistently ran coach basics groups and ramp groups and consistently plugged people in. They've consistently edified people. They've consistently formed people. I've hung out with them out in public. The first thing they learned was how to form and how to edify, right? And when we go through basics, those are like the 2 things I tell people. Listen, if you get nothing else out of this, learn how to form and learn how to edify. Those are probably the 2 most powerful skills that you can learn. And these guys have mastered it, and they've duplicated that importance in their team. Their team knows how to do that, right? And so, Joe, talk about that a little bit, about that, that year 2, year 3 thing, where you're starting to see that hockey stick and that growth now in the team, and you've got other leaders developing under you and all those things.
Well, when Tina, when I first signed her up, and she was kind of unsure of the business because she didn't jump in right away, like that first month or whatever. But when she finally did, I told her, I said, just think of this business as 1 year out from wherever you are. And ever since I started the business, I've always been looking at people who are 6 months to 1 year ahead of me. And I mean, I do finance for a living, and I understand the concept of investing. You have to put something at risk in order to get a return on it. In our business, that's putting your sweat equity into it. You're just like if you were, going to, buy a house or build a house, you may go to the bank and say that you're going to do some of the renovations or whatever yourself, and then it's going to be more valuable later. That's time and effort that you put into that. And when I first joined, the first thing I did inside of Swarm, even though I didn't know you personally, is I just identified who did I want to be like. Mm-hmm. And I just looked at you and I said, okay, that's the guy. I guess, he's the one that knows everything. I should model myself after him. He's the one with the most success. Why would I need anybody else? Mm-hmm. And I just decided I was going to copy you and just realize that you were there longer than me, but it would eventually happen. Mm-hmm. And as I started to develop my own team, I just every time created that vision for people to be thinking 1 year out, and then always constantly bringing people back to their why and making sure that their goals are big enough. I mean, we can't, just set a goal of making, $50 a month or something, because to me, it just doesn't end up being worth it for all the frustrations and everything else. And it's hard, I know, to make people understand that they are worthy of something bigger, that they can accomplish something. They're none of us came from money. Tina and I, both, Tina grew up more poor than me, but I grew up with a very middle class family just down the road from where Tommy lives, in a small town. And, my parents didn't know how they were going to send me to college, and I got lucky and got a scholarship. But, I just always knew that I wanted something more. I just always had this vision, and I just kept painting that picture for everybody in our team to have them know that they are worthy, they deserve more, they can have this. This is a skill that anybody can learn. We're not trying to be professional basketball players here. This is something that if we just learn some basic skills and concepts and disciplines and apply them every day, and just be willing to invest that time, whether they make their goal, and people can make their goal if they want. I mean, if they want to, help a few people and make a couple $100 a month, that's great. But don't sell yourself short either, because the opportunity is really there to dream much bigger than you probably ever have. And maybe we come at it a little bit too much from a financial perspective. I don't know. All I know though is that I've always thought that I was going to do more, and now I have such a huge amount of passion that it's not about the money that I make anymore. Because as you know, Tommy, I've probably lost more money in the last 2 years doing this, but I see that investment and I know what this can do, and I know that it's actually going to create greater. And so it's a smart investment, and I understand that. And not only that, but now I'm helping a lot of people. So I love having people see more than what they can themselves. And they just have to be willing to think a little bit outside of the box and think bigger, but understand that they all have the skills, and this really is such a simple business that the biggest mistake that I see people making is self-sabotage and overthinking. And really, when people get frustrated, it comes down to the fact that they haven't thought of a big enough goal, and they are overthinking the business and lack some confidence.
People complicate it, I heard Tina actually use the word simple, and you use the word simple, right? And I remember like Danny Johnson, I actually, she was my one-on-one mentor for a while, right? And there's times in this where I've overthought it or self-sabotage, and I think that people can do that. And I've done that, but I remember her telling me, Tommy, you better get really stupid really fast and just do the basics over and over again. Like the basketball team doesn't win the game by shooting half-court shots. It wins the game by feeding the paint and shooting layups, right? And that makes sense, and that's exactly what Joe and Tina are talking about. And I think something this weekend I was spending time with Denise Needham, right, from the company at this training, and she was talking to me about she's been interviewing a lot of the top performers in the entire network, like the people who are like in the top 20 right now for the last 12 months, like just crushing it, kind of like what you guys are doing. And she said, there's a couple of things that they have in common. One is they have incredible follow-up, and they follow up multiple times, like follow up. Like even when they enroll someone, they're looking for when the product ships, and they're following up saying, hey, your product just shipped. I'm excited for you. Remember to do your Shakeology once a day. And then they're following up when they get it, and then they're following up after they start. And like the follow-up just continues down the line. That's the first thing. The second thing that she said was, and both of these made me think of Tina, these two things. And so, because when she said that, and I said, man, like that's so Tina. That's Tina right there. Like she relentlessly follows up with people, right? She doesn't just give up on the first no. She circles back around to them a month later, and several people on her team have come from that. So Tina, talk a little bit about that, because I think too many coaches quit on the first no, and they don't.
Yeah. If you asked, there's probably 99.9% of my personally sponsored coaches said no to me at least 5 times. So I just put them in a little sorting pile of not right now. And I would ask permission to circle back to them at a later date. And I would usually get it. So until I got it down and out, no, please quit stalking me, which has happened, then I'm going to follow back with them. In the meantime, I continue to go find new talent. I edify the team. I edify our products. I edify our business opportunity. I learned to be the edification queen from watching Tommy. And that's huge, because those people that said, no, not right now, are always watching. So there are folks on my team like Nick Oskowski, who went diamond in 60 days flat. He watched us for 2 years, and he was not ready And when he was ready, he reached out and said, dang, I should have listened to you 2 years ago, but we just didn't shut that door. You know, we left it open. Actually, I kind of forgot that he would be watching, but we kept telling our story, kept proving that all of our products work. Our fitness products, our nutrition products, our community, and our income product. We just keep proving that it works until people are ready. We love people where they are, and we sort them.
Yeah. Well, and man, there's so many guys. I hope you're getting some of these nuggets. I don't know. And maybe I'm getting them because I do this or whatever. But, I mean, she talked about finding new talent. That's prospecting, right? So she's always prospecting, always prospecting. She's always looking for an opportunity to put the opportunity in front of people. End of story, right? She talks about edifying everything. But she also talked about telling the story. And she identified the fact that our products aren't just fitness and shakes, right? Our product is the community, and our product is the business opportunity and the income opportunity. And I know that there's a lot of people that, you know, Tina you never had done Beachbody. You were a yoga instructor, right?
Right.
But
you had Brazil butter.
Yeah, I did.
But in your mind, you were like, you were thinking, man, I love fitness. I love helping people, and I love fitness. And this is an opportunity for me to actually create something of significance based on my passion, right? So it makes sense to me why you prospect some of the people you prospect. And that was the second thing that Denise Needham talked about, was that everybody on the top of the list really has a niche, right? They have a niche that they're focused on. And, you know, there's a big world out there, and if we're focused on trying to help everybody, we got to figure out who we speak to and who we understand. So, because when you're in conversation, you speak the same language. Like, honestly, for me, my niche has been local people. Look, I'm a small town guy that loves my friggin' hometown, and I don't make any bones about it. And probably at least 70% of the people that I sponsor have a connection to my local community, right? Whether they're still here or not, I find them on Facebook, but they were originally from Bellevue. So that's one of my niches. That's something that differentiates me from somebody else. Is this? I'm focused on my local people. And then my second thing is always fat people, because I started as a fat guy, right? So it makes sense. Like, that's what I get. I get those two people, local people and fat people, you know, and that's really what I was. And so and I think that Tina really has done a great job of just kind of finding a niche that fits her. And I think it's easy for other people to kind of look and go, what are they doing? You know, blah, 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 blah. When really what they need to do, they don't need to go find the same people you're finding. They need to figure out what their niche is and go speak to those people, go work that network of people, right? Does that make sense? So Tina, talk a little bit about that. I know this is a long call, guys, but I got to tell you, it's a rare opportunity for us to spend this time with them. There's nobody in the network that's growing faster than their team as far as a percentage to percentage basis. And so we have a rare opportunity to kind of pick their brains. And so I hope that you guys stick with us. It's worth the time and the investment that you're making to learn from this. But so Tina, talk a little bit about like that concept of just finding a niche. I mean, because I know like at first you were trying to help the same kind of people I was helping.
Right.
And it didn't work very well for you, right?
And it took me a while to figure out. So I remember at your party after that Super Saturday, sharing a conversation with June Warner. And I learned that day that both sides of the fence have a fear coming into the business. Because I voiced to her, she was so cute too, I go, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this because I don't have a story.
Right.
And what I meant by that was I was never going to have a story of I lost a big amount of weight. Like she had this story to share with people. And I thought, could I be successful? And she just looked at me and she was like, skinny biatch. She said, you don't need to tell your story. No one wants to hear your story. She said, tell my story. She said, but if you're talking to someone like yourself, tell your story or somebody else's. And she said, I don't tell my story. And so that hit me right in the gut. I was like, yeah, I had this fear in this direction. And it turns out people would share with me before they created their weight loss story that they were afraid that they couldn't do it because they didn't already have their story.
Right.
And through you and training, I learned, dude, it's not about us. It's never about us. As soon as you enroll, it's about everyone else. So I sat with that, and it was really a few months before I identified, oh my gosh, I have a story.
Mm-hmm.
I had a before and after, and it was about business.
Mm-hmm.
I kicked off my high heel pumps and my suit, and I put on yoga pants full time and no shoes. And that was my story. And so then I started seeing things through Joe's eyes more on the business perspective of, wow, I could help other fitness folks, people who loved helping people and loved their fitness, connect with a business opportunity, and we could expand our circle of goodness faster.
Mm-hmm.
So I started plugging into that, and our connection ended up being finding that nurses loved helping people passionately. They loved the idea in Beachbody to be able to be on the preventative side of medicine, and also personal trainers, group fitness instructors, nutritionists, gym owners. So we started drawing in those folks as business partners, and it's been an amazing, explosive journey with them because they love to help people. They have a built-in audience that come to them already looking for advice, and so when they give their stamp of approval, it's door open.
Yeah, they already have a trusted group influence. I mean, really, and I think that and so Tina kind of outlines like the people that they're looking for, like nurses and people who are already passionate about fitness and might not be making the kind of money that they want to make doing fitness, right? And so, at the end of the day, it's like, let's find what works for us. I mean, it makes sense to me that Tina would, because that was her story, right? And I want you to write this down. Your people will bring in people, the way that they come in, that's what they'll end up bringing in, right? So if they come in as a challenge, like me, I started with P90X, right? And I did 3 or 4 months of it, and then I decided to become a coach after 5 months, and after losing 50 pounds. And so that was my story. So that's why my focus has always been on bringing people in as challengers and learning to upgrade them to coach, because that was the journey that I took, right? The journey that Tina took was, here she was. She had a business of her own. She was a yoga enthusiast. She was had her resume writing business, and this matched, her fitness passion, and she saw a way to help people with it, and at the same time earn a potentially 6-7 figure income doing it, right? Which is awesome. So guys, I just want to thank you before we take off. I know it's, I don't know, is it after 10:06? So we've been a little bit over an hour on this call, which is more time than we usually spend. If this is your first time, it's usually 45 minutes, but this is such a rare opportunity. I get to talk to Tina and Joe all the time, but I know that you guys may not, right? And they're very, very busy running their own organization. So I just want to thank you guys for all the work that you've done, but also just for coming on and openly sharing your stories, your thoughts with the team, in hopes that someone else, I mean, even if there's one little nugget that people get from this and take with them, even if it's just a renewed faith that they can do some incredible things if they just set bigger goals and go after a little bit more than they can bite off, right? So with that said, I mean, Joe, do you want any parting, if you were a coach on here that has a vision of building something, what would you tell those people to just expect? What are some of the, some of the encouragements and warnings that you might give them and what it actually takes to build a 1,000-person organization?
I think what I tell people to expect is, you can learn this in business in your first 30 days if you pay attention and you just apply what we all teach people right away. That, again, these are all just basic skills that we can all do. The biggest disappointment is that people want to give up too easily. And you're going to be faced with people who give up all the time. And, until a coach goes through 500 to 1,000 no's, I really, don't really want to hear about that from my coaches, because again, if they're not willing to go through a ton of no's, then they haven't set their goal big enough. And secondly, they haven't decided to invest in their own skills, which again, the basic, just personal development skills and listening skills. to stop selling and start listening. But it's all about consistency. It's about showing up every day. And Tommy, you know this, for 3 years now, almost 3 years, you know, we have never missed a Monday night call, really, that I can think of, unless maybe I was traveling out of town or something with a client. But that might be 1 or 2 people, or 1 or 2 times.
The only thing you missed was because of your daughter's wedding, right?
Yeah,
Right.
That's right.
I mean, but and that's the thing. And the thing is, like, it's not only that you haven't missed it, you haven't missed an opportunity to bring your people, right? Make it.
We never miss an opportunity to learn. Yeah. We never miss an opportunity to learn from somebody who was more successful than us. We never miss an opportunity to engage with a team and meet more people and hear more success stories. You know, I think people think they're on an island, even when we, you know, are recruiting people who are out of state or something like that. But there's events everywhere, as you said. So people have to get to events to see that they're not on an island. It is real. And you know, when Tommy, you did us a favor because you developed the 5 steps, and I'm not sure everybody knows that. But Tommy won the leadership award because he won the 5, or he developed the 5 steps when he was doing our initial training, and got to give that to the entire organization. And you know, that actually forced me and Tina, when Tommy didn't have time, to take ownership of our team. And we just kind of looked around and said, you know what I did? I took your legacy training for 4 or 5 weeks, and then it was like 3 or 4 months later when you didn't return about 10 or 15 of our messages, and you were flying around, honestly. And I just said, you know what, we're in this, and we got to take ownership of this, and there's no reason. He's taught us everything already in our 5 weeks, and then the fortunate 4 months we had with you before that, just with the form training and the weekends. And so what I did is I just started listening to the legacy calls over and over again. I said, Tina, all we got to do is duplicate this and make our own calls and do what he did. And I created it, or I should say we created it. I said, you take this part and I'll take this part. You take this part and we'll just invite our team to them, and who cares if we don't know how to do it, but I guarantee you that we know more than what the rest of our team knows, so we're going to do it. And we just started doing that consistently, and literally just showing up every day and being consistent and learning as you go. You just get better and better. I still, to this day, I screw up every day. But the only difference is I don't let it frustrate me. I told Tina this morning, wow, some girl blocked me again. But she said, well, you know what, you're doing your job. And that happens to us. And what I'll do is I'll get Eric Worre GoPro out here, and I'll study the script and go, okay, where did I go wrong? And I'll do that the next time. And before I'll respond to somebody, I'll read the script and figure out, okay, how do I want to approach this? Right. And I'll just keep doing that over and over. And it doesn't take, you do that 3 or 4 times a day, and do it every day for 2 years, you develop a 6-figure business. It's that easy. Sometimes you have to slow down and think how you want to reply, right? What is the best way to reply to this? Because naturally, sometimes we want to fly off the hook, or naturally, sometimes what naturally might come out of our mouth isn't always the best thing, right? So slow down a little bit. So guys, listen, I thank you so much for being here. We've been on. Tina, any last parting words for these people? Any last bits of advice that you could give them?
No, we are so grateful for you, Tommy, and the leadership that you've given us. Maybe they don't know that you reached way down deep into the organization to pull us up. You didn't owe us that, but you've given us so much time, and we are so grateful for you. And we couldn't have copied a better cat.
And we're grateful to the sworn leaders and people that we know there and are friends with, and grateful to our teammates who are giving it back as well. And the best thing that everybody can do to repay all of us, and including what we can do to repay Tommy, is just show that we learned and continue to apply and make our dreams come true.
Awesome. Well, hey, I love you guys. You know that, and I can't wait to see you guys on the cruise. I'm gonna be on the cruise with you.
Woohoo! 2 weeks.
There's gonna be a round of waters on me.
course.
Listen. Take the nuggets, guys. Here's what I would want from you guys. Just make a list of the top 2 or 3 things that hit you tonight, right? And then go back into your team pages and just post those things. What made sense to you? What hit you? What little nugget did you take where you can move your business forward, your thinking forward a little bit? There was a lot of stuff that we covered tonight just in this Q&A. So, guys, I thank you for your time. Awesome. We're going to have an incredible 3 months coming up between the cruise, and then with Summit coming up and all that stuff. It's an exciting time. So, guys, I thank you so much, and we'll talk to you later. Post your top 2 or 3 things in the team pages. We'll talk to you later, guys.
Thank you.